Hi, my name is Heidi Hernandez, and this is my TED Talk evaluation speech for public speaking online. The TED Talk that I watched was given by Brene Brown, and it was called Listening to Shame. And what Brene Brown runs through in this TED speech is shame, how it's becoming a growing epidemic in today's society, and she also brings up vulnerability and how, despite it having a negative connotation to it, it can actually be very influential in contributing to some very positive outcomes. I mean, the way she described it was, vulnerability is our most accurate measurement of courage. And that's something that I agree with very strongly, especially after listening to her speech. She captured the attention of the audience in the very beginning of her speech by starting off saying that she had given a speech in Houston, a TED Talk in Texas, and that she woke up the next morning with the worst vulnerability hangover of her life, which I find very ironic and very amusing because her TED Talk the previous day had been about vulnerability. So, it was very funny. It was very interesting just to think, wait, you are giving speeches about this, and yet you're still having the same problems. Not only that, but it's amplified to right now as the worst it's ever been. So that definitely caught my attention as, how do you overcome that? And especially you who studied this, how does one go about it? She managed to keep my attention through the rest of the video because she was just herself on the stage. She was cute, she was quirky, you could tell that there was still a sense of her being outside of her comfort zone by being up on stage and sharing her personal stories and talking about getting caught off guard and, getting herself caught in situations where she didn't know how to handle herself. And that actually answers my next question of which TED Talk commandment did she follow the best, why and how? And it would be the second one. Show us the real you. While she was up there was no sense of her trying to be, this person that she wasn't, obviously. She was up there, and you could just feel her genuinity radiating off of her. She was really fun to listen to. She was sharing stories about how she was uncomfortable. She mentioned her studies. She mentioned, situations, and she always gave personal examples. They were always very personal. And she seldom gave stories, if at all, actually, none that I can remember. She seldom gave stories about other people and their situations. They were always her. But she did do a really good job of following the third TED Talk commandment, too, of make complicated things simple. She broke down her entire message into one line of shame is I am bad. Guilt is I did something bad. And that one line stuck really, really hard. So she did a really good job of that. In terms of dynamism, I would probably rate her about a 4. She read very well. She had very good hand movements, all that good stuff. She was very active on stage. However, there were times where I felt like she could have pushed it a little bit more, and where she could have definitely portray the excitement in her body language a little bit better, especially in her excitement. What have I learned about delivery based upon watching this presenter? Take risks. Definitely take risks. The entire speech was about vulnerability and how it is a foundation of innovation, creativity, and and change. So if I were presenting myself in front of people, why would I not want to be vulnerable to create something new, be innovative, and try to make things stick? Compared to Ken Robinson and watching his 2 videos before watching this one, it was definitely a really, really big change. You could tell that Ken Robinson was more comfortable up there. His delivery, not to knock off Miss Brene Brown at all, but Ken's delivery was so much better in his jokes. He was definitely it was definitely more easy to be engaged in Mr. Robinson's speech than it was Miss Brown's. But Ken had mentioned that he was a college professor, so maybe that's more of his zone. It seems, being in front of people and being able to have someone focus on what you're saying and getting them engaged. So they were both good in the sense of their wording, though I'll give them that. Miss Brene Brown, though not as easily engageable as as Ken, definitely knew her words very well. Her vocabulary was on point, and it wasn't to the point where it was, oh my gosh, she's being a smarty. She's trying to be too smart for this. You could tell that it was a natural sense. It was a good sense of vocabulary, and it was enough to make you think this woman knows what she's talking about. What tips can you give your classmates? I guess out of everything, just don't be afraid of messing up or looking like an idiot. That's definitely the biggest problem that everybody has when it comes to public speaking, is just being afraid. Also, get a good idea of what you're saying and don't just ramble on, which I know I'm guilty of and probably have done several times in this video alone. But, I don't know, just keep a smile on, keep going. Be confident in what you're talking about, and make sure to keep an eye on your time because I am about 2 minutes over, so I'll end it on that note.